Guys, what is up? Max in a Wonderlands video, and today we are going over Spellslinger. Now, this is the successor to the Cold Snap build and the Cryomancer build. It is putting together everything that I've learned about casting spells and playing a spell class over the past few weeks in Wonderlands, as well as adding in new gear and getting the most damage that we possibly can out of our spells using Ambi Hextrace. This build is genuinely so flexible in terms of the gear, the class mods. There isn't anything that you must have, and I want to break down everything you guys need to know about dealing the most damage with spells. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And that, guys, let's get right into it. So we're going to start with an overview of the build, and then we'll get into the gear specifics and the skill tree and the hero points. And note, this video may be a little bit longer because there's a lot I want to share with you. To start us off, we are going to be using spells and spell damage as our primary source of damage. This is a Spellshot Graveborn build, and we are going to want our spells to hit as hard as possible. And the first part of getting our spells hit as hard as possible is achieving a 100% spell critical hit chance. Yes, that is right. This build achieves a 100% spell critical hit chance. Our spells will always crit all the time, guaranteed, with this current setup, which is extremely gross. And we're pairing that with the newly discovered skill, or the newly discovered damage from Double Knot. Whenever the Fate Maker scores a critical hit with this spell, he deals bonus gun damage of his gun's element. Now, you may note that I'm not actually spec'd all the way down to Double Knot, and we'll explain that in a second. Double Knot is a crazy skill that double dips in all of your damage and is guaranteed double dipping damage on any of your spellcasts that critical hit. As you can note, I critical hit every time I spellcast, meaning my damage is getting an astronomical damage increase from Double Knot. Double Knot usually hits for like triple or sometimes even quadruple the damage that my spells hit, so I'm getting absurd damage increases from achieving that 100% spell critical hit chance. Now, in addition to Double Knot, we are also achieving Blast Gasp. We're using Blast Gasp. We have found a way to use both. Blast Gasp is a absurd damage increase that is also triggered off of our spell damage, scales off of our spell damage, does ability damage, and double dips in all of our damage increases. And we're using a lot of double dip damage increases. Now, how am I achieving both Double Knot and Blast Gasp? Well, that leads us to our new class mod, which is a +3 Double Knot +2 Spell Sniper paradigm. Now, there are two options for class mods now in terms of the paradigms or the Tides class mod, which I'll explain in a second. But the new god roll, in my opinion, for spell damage builds is a +3 Double Knot +2 Spell Sniper Spellshot Stabomancer class mod. Before, we were using high thread count, and high thread count is very nice for increasing our spell damage, but it's not as good as +3 Double Knot. Also, one thing to note that some people are confused on, myself including, is that this reads spell damage per stack is 73.2%. That is not a flat spell damage increase. That is a percentage increase of our 10%. So that 73% increase is changing my spell weaving stacks from about 10% damage to about 17% spell damage per stack. It's not 73% damage per stack, which even further reinforces why Double Knot, getting this damage on every single spell cast and on our Pixie companions, which we'll talk about in a second, is just so much stronger. So this is the new best class mod. Now, you can use a paradigm class mod, which will increase your Blast Gasp ability damage, which will give you huge damage increases when you proc that Blast Gasp every once in a while, because it's only a 20% chance. Or you can use one of the new Soaked class mods, or the Tides class mods. Let me see if I can pull one up real quick, because I do have a decent one. This is the other class mod that you want to be looking for, a +3 Double Knot +2 Spell Sniper Tides. Now, Tides is a new class mod that introduces the Soaked effect. The Soaked effect is going to give you 50% more damage with lightning and frost damage against enemies. And this is extremely strong. It's going to make our companions hit extremely strong, because our companions will constantly be critting and constantly proccing this Soaked effect, and it's really convenient to use the Tides. I found myself getting tons of damage, and both of these class mods are really good. I do think the paradigm, in terms of just flat out spell damage, is a little bit better because it can scale that Blast Gasp so much, and Blast Gasp is one of the strongest skills in the game. So I do think that the paradigm is a little bit better, but the Tides is a really, really good option, and the gameplay for this video is using both. I've swapped between both. So it's not like I only used the Paradigm or I only used the Tides. Both of these class mods are really strong and really viable. Class mod RNG is really difficult in this game. So whatever you can get your hands on, use that. It's not like you need a Paradigm or you need a Tides for this build to work. Whatever you can get your hands on is going to be great. If you can't get a +3 double 9, you only get +2. That's still an insane damage increase. So we're going to go over the rest of the gear and then we'll talk enchantments. So for my main weapon that I'm using is going to be a Cryo Fear Knot with Pixies. Fear Knot Pixie pistols do spell damage, and these pistols will proc Double Knot. They get Double Knot, which will deal bonus damage, and they can proc Blast Gas. So these Pixies are doing absurd damage. They will genuinely kill bosses for me, even if I don't cast spells. They are seriously some of the strongest things in the game, and they scale off of spell damage, and lo and behold, we are getting a ton of spell damage increases with this build. So the Fear Knots are the best thing. You really want a Pixie Fear Knot. That is what will do spell damage. For my melee weapon, I'm using a Mage Staff. You can either use a Mage Staff or a Goblin Pickaxe or a Spellblade. It doesn't really matter that much. Goblin Pickaxe is probably the best option here. However, I like the Mage Staff because I think it's really cool, and the fissures make my brain happy. And it also does spell damage. So this thing I actually, with melees, with this current build, when I hit with this Mage Staff, I can actually just kill enemies. Plus it's dark magic, which will heal me if I need some quick health in a pinch. So I like the Mage Staff, but you can use whatever you'd like. Next up, I am using a Cursed Wit with frost damage increase. This shield is 100% damage while it's depleted, and with my current skill, I am not using Mage Armor. Without using Mage Armor, my shield never repletes, meaning I'm constantly getting this 100% damage. Now, one of the biggest concerns that when people see this build, they're like, how do you survive with no shield and like 2,000 base health? I survive with Sanguine Sacrament. Sanguine Sacrament is going to give us 30% of our health back per spell cast. We're casting spells constantly casting spells. We're always health regenning, and there's something in this game called Health Gate. As long as we're above our Health Gate, we're not going to get one shot, so we can just keep healing ourselves, and this build actually has really gross survivability off of that fact alone. For our rings, we're using Mood Rings. Mood Rings give you 100% effect of the ring, meaning I'm going to get 100% more of this spell damage on this ring, 100% more of that spell critical hit damage, 100% more of that spell critical hit chance when my shield is depleted, and my shield is always depleted on this build. These Mood Rings with my spell critical hit chance and my spell damage rolls are what are allowing me to achieve over 100% spell critical hit chance. As well, you'll note our class mod's also spec'd into Spell Sniper. Spell Sniper is going to give me plus 84% spell critical hit chance. With some spell crit Mood Rings and a class mod into Spell Sniper, you can get easily over 100% spell critical hit chance, which will just skyrocket your damage. For my amulet, I am using a Frenzied Wrath of Heroism. This is going to give me increased, the one I'm using is Frost Damage Spell Shot Power and all damage dealt roll. And we're using a Frenzied Wrath. This reads whenever the Fate Maker or a companion kills an enemy, companion damage is increased by 20% for 15 seconds. This item is ridiculously strong. It's going to give my companions 100% more damage whenever we kill it. Like, it'll stack up to 100% more damage. And if you couldn't already tell, these Fear Knots in of themselves are crazy strong. Now they're going to get 100% more damage, and that 100% more damage is going to be increasing the Double Knots that they proc and the Blast Gas that they proc. It is just silly. Now for spells, there is one spell that I never take off, and that is the Triple Ice Spike. I think this is the best spell in the game, and whether I'm mobbing or bossing, I am always using a Triple Ice Spike. In my opinion, after the Impaling Ice Spike got changed, this is now the top damage for consistency and low cooldown spells. It is simply insane, and whether I'm mobbing or bossing, I'm always using this thing. Now, if I'm bossing, I do like using the new spell, which you saw me using in the intro, the Tidebreaker. The Tidebreaker is going to allow me to apply the soaked effect to enemies while also using my Paradigm, so I'm going to benefit from both. Alternatively, you can use 2 damage spells and a Twisted Delusion. The Delusion will guarantee proc soaked for you, and then you can use the Delusion and 2 damage spells. For mobbing, I've actually started using a Trickster's Ice Spike. Trickster's Ice Spikes are Very cool because they bounce around, and with the added enemy density in the Chaos Chambers, these things actually work now. Whether you get a simple cast or a repeating cast, I actually prefer, I think, the simple cast ones, but I lost my simple cast. But Trickster Ice Spike will bounce around, and it is guaranteed to proc double knot on enemies because my crit chance is 100% on my spells. So Trickster's Ice Spike, triple Ice Spike, Tidebreaker, and if you want to have some fun with other things, because we just deal so much spell damage, the Threads of Fate is cool. The Impaling Ice Spikes I still use sometimes. They're very strong still, even after their changes. The Surging Glacial Cascade is good, and Quaking Sunders. One thing to mention is we deal so much spell damage, Quaking Sunders hit so many enemies that Quaking Sunders are also an insane option for mobbing and bossing. Or sorry, not bossing. Quaking Sunders just for mobbing. But yeah, always use the triple Ice Spike and then rotate in whatever spell you feel is fit for the situation. And if that was a little bit confusing, showing on screen right now is the suggested loadout with a class mod and spells for like bossing, and now showing on screen is a suggested loadout for mobbing if you want to pause the video and look at those. I will say one thing that I think is now a must-have enchant after I discovered this is that regardless of what you're doing, this is one of the best enchants you can rock for this build. After getting a spell kill, gain a 50% chance to shoot an additional projectile for a moderate duration. This works for your pixie companions. After you get a spell kill, your pixie companions have a 50% chance to fire an additional projectile. This is a ginormous damage increase for your pixie companions. It does not work for your spells. This is not in your spells get extra projectiles, but your pixie companions will get extra projectiles, and they're already doing absurd damage, so make sure that you have this on your gear. And then the rest of the enchants are basically looking for on spellcast increased damage, on spellcast increased elemental damage, frost damage, whatever you want to use. So I've already explained a lot about this skill tree while we were going over the gear. Just to note, Magic Bullets is going to increase the damage of your pixies. It will not increase the damage the double knot deals. That's the reason I'm spec'd into Magic Bullets. Spell Sniper, crazy crit chance. Depending on your spell cooldown, this is a feel thing. So if your spell cooldown is feeling really good, don't spec into Font of Mana, and you can just use 5 out of 5 into Essence Drain and get tons of spell cooldown. If you feel like you need more spell cooldown, take these points out of reload speed and put them into Font of Mana. It's really dependent. I'm constantly throwing Teteors, so I really like the reload speed because it lets me get back to my spell casting as fast as possible. And the more time that I'm spellcasting, the more damage that I'm going to be dealing, the higher the DPS. So Font of Mana, 5. This is up to you. If you have enough cooldown, don't put points here. If you need more cooldown, put points there. We're not using Mage Armor because we do not want our shield to be up ever. We're getting Glass Cannon for the spell damage increase, and we're mainly here for high thread count, which is going to give us a bunch of spell weaving damage. Next up, we're in the Greyborn skill tree. After messing around with the Spell Shot Capstone for forever, I think Greyborn Capstone is just better. I think it's just better. It's going to activate all of our kill skills, and I can constantly proc Dark Hydras. The reason Dark Hydras are so good is because they're going to give me Faithful Thralls. Faithful Thralls is a global damage increase, and Double Knot, double dips in it. Blast Gas, double dips in it. It is a big damage increase, even out without points into it. So we're going to want to be having our Dark Hydras up as much as possible to get Faithful Thralls to give us more double dipping damage. Sanguine Sacrament keeps us alive. Harvest, Harvest is a bugged skill. All of the gameplay that was like boss kills in this was done on save quit, so there's no harvest bugs. Just so you know, harvest can bug out and stack infinitely. The way that you bug harvest is if you have harvest stacks and then you fast travel, it will maintain those stacks and they keep stacking every time you kill something and travel. For this gameplay, I did my best to not travel whenever I had harvest stacks, so we did not have harvest bug. But just note, when you do have harvest bug, your companions will start all of a sudden hitting millions of damage just out of the blue. So just keep an eye out for that. If you don't want to spec harvest, you don't have to. It's a good skill without the bug, so that's why I like it. But just letting you know that this skill can lead to way more damage than you probably need. Next up, Ascension, more health, more spell damage, easy grab. Lord of Edges, I really like this. I notice sometimes when I get that low health, I get those crazy Blast Gas procs with Lord of Edges, Blast Gas, obviously, and then Morheim's Blessing. Whenever we cast a spell, we activate all of our kill skills, which is just really nice. We're constantly getting our our spell cooldown all the time. We're constantly summoning Dark Hydras, keeping up our faithful Thrall stacks. All right, now let's do our hero points. So our priority is Spell Shot Power. This is going to give us the most spell damage we possibly can get. Obviously, you want to get as much spell critical hit chance. If you can get above that 100% threshold, you are golden. Golden. It's not that big of a deal if you don't get 100%, but 100% is really nice. We are going full into crit damage, obviously, because crit damage is good. Depending on your build, like, obviously, I could unspec out of this crit chance because I already have over 100%. I don't need more than 100% crit chance. So that's going to be kind of a thing up to you, but I would absolutely maximize strength and intelligence, get that spell cooldown, get that crit damage. Those are the two most important things. And then the rest of your points, you can min-max to just get to 100 with your crit chance, or put it into status damage or max HP or ward, whatever you feel most comfortable for. But the priorities are crit damage number 1, spell cooldown number 2, and then crit chance number 3, depending on how much spell critical hit chance you are sitting on. The background I would go for this build is either Raised by Elves or Village Idiot. One is going to give you a harder start, but will lead to more damage in the end game, aka Village Idiot. One will give you a easier start in the game, but will lead to slightly less damage at the end game, being Raised by Elves. Guys, that is going to do it for the build video. This build is extremely flexible. You can use so many different class mods. Even if you don't have a triple knot, like, it still works with our Paradigm high thread count that we used before. It works with Tides class mods. Tides are really good. You can genuinely substitute any spells into this build and just hit like a truck. The reason we're not using any like Blast Gas or a class mod that gives points into Blast Gasp and then gives Spell Shot cooldown or Spell Shot Capstone, because I know I'm going to get asked about that, is because skill or class mods that give points into Blast Gas do not give any Spell Shot Power, and Spell Shot Power is scaling a lot of our damage. It's not worth losing that Spell Shot Power just for some extra points into Blast Gas. Trust me, it's not worth it. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions about the build or struggling with your spell shot damage, or like there's mechanics of this that don't make sense to you, please come over to my Twitch channel and ask me anything. I try to answer all the questions I can while I'm live. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch y'all on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.